Hey, Paul.
Hey, mate. How's it going, guys?
Good on you, bro.
Hey, lekker, man.
Another solid week, I'd assume.
Yeah, another properly busy one. And, yeah, rather hectic couple of days, but all good, man. I can't say running out of energy because we're all primed up. Excuse the fun.
Yeah, we try to be like the cool kids.
Yeah, we are the cool kids. What you talking about?
Almost didn't get going today.
Yeah, I know it's been been a bit of a story to get started, but yeah, here we are. Oh,
As always. So a little bit of a focus on Aussie aviation at the moment. As I mentioned on the previous show, we're doing so well in Australia of late. I think it's got something to do with your accent.
No. That's got anything to do. I think we've got so many mates that are hooking at that side of the world, and I bet you it's because all of our South African expats they're listening to us because they got FOMO.
I reckon.
Huh?
I think so. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope that we're just expanding our reach in the Aussie region. But let's get to it anyway. So a lot of opportunity in Australia.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunity for South Africans in Australia. Is that mainly to do with the fact that the Aussies have lots of opportunities at the moment in the United States, and they are flocking northwards there, and we are then trying to fill those gaps? Is basically, can we agree on the consensus that that's what's happening?
I think so. I mean, yeah, the Aussies they were given first dibs into the States. When the States started expanding, and obviously that's created a massive gap in Australia now, and obviously they're on a massive drive to get pilots, and they're fishing our shores for that. So 100%, man.
Well, I hope they keep it up because it's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah,
for South Africans to go. But let's just talk about Qantas for a minute. They obviously, during pandemic, Australia was totally shut down. There wasn't much going on there for a long time. Qantas now forecasted a record profit between 1.6 and 1.7 billion USD for the financial year coming up now. So the projected profit surpasses predictions of a slow recovery for airlines after the pandemic. Despite this profitable outlook, Qantas faces criticism for record fare levels, which are a significant factor in the forecast profit. Accusations of price gouging and all sorts of things have popped up. The key drivers of the profit are strong demand and the successful completion of a Qantas 3-year recovery program. So lots of things happening there at the airline. Remember, they were the ones that went and stored a lot of their 380s. They're coming back into service. That's helped things. And there's a new chairman, I believe. So Qantas announced former American Airlines CEO and chairman Doug Parker will join its board management. So that's expected to reinforce the existing relationship between the two airlines. So there's a lot of movement. There's a lot happening there in Australia. The next story had a bit of a chuckle when it came out because they've got this code share with Finnair. So, I mean, okay, listen to the story first and you can comment on it. So Qantas has announced that Finnair, its codeshare partner, will operate selected A330 flights from Sydney to Singapore starting late October. All the flights between Sydney and Bangkok from March. However, Qantas facing criticism for outsourcing the flights while converting their 330 passenger aircraft into freighters. So what they're doing, these are going to be operated by Finnair, but they're going to be served Aussie meals and the whole Qantas vibe, but operated by Finnair. If they're ever two polar opposite types of cultures, the Finns and the Aussies. The Finns tend to be quite quiet, Kimi Räikkönen style sort of character.
Yeah.
And then the Aussies obviously more like us.
Yeah, loud and boisterous and out there.
So Aussies not chuffed about this, obviously, because there's, again, the job opportunity thing. They'd prefer to be doing that themselves. But it looks like they really are taking the leap and using this opportunity to right-size the aircraft, get the right aircraft back, the conversion of these freighters and all sorts and getting the right board in and all the rest. So a lot happening in Oz, a lot of opportunity. Looks like they're doing really well. And it's kind of, there's a good vibe about it.
Yeah, look, to be honest, it reminded me that I don't think it's just pilots.
No, it's not.
It's professions across the board. I know of a lot of doctors that are grabbing up contracts and opportunities in Oz as well. So yeah, I mean they've got a lot to offer in terms of, I suppose, lifestyle and security and all that kind of stuff. And what's going to happen here?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Well, let's have an open discussion. So first of all, last week we spoke a bit about Oz and a few of the guys there that are doing well. There are some road shows that are coming up in the very near future.
Plenty.
So we'll be releasing dates and what that's all about and who's coming in the very near future. Hopefully we'll be involved here at Simaero. And I've got quite a few calls this past week asking a few questions about that, what to expect and the rest. So we're going to do a bit of journalism, you and me. A bit of investigative journalism. Go and try and find out a bit more as to what this whole process is about, because I'm sure it's a rigmarole to actually get your application in, not just to the airline itself, but if you're going to take the whole family across and make this move, there is quite a lot involved.
Yeah.
And I suppose if anything is going to put someone off, it's going to be that whole process. But from what I've heard, it is a bit of work, but it shouldn't stop you from, at least trying to go ahead with it.
Yeah.
The reality is the opportunities there. I mean, Qantas, Link, where's Mark going again?
Nexus. There's Air North. Yeah, just to name a few.
And the SAFers are making their way up at least the management ranks in those companies. So there's connections at all those airlines at the moment, and for South Africans. So
we've definitely got enough friends outside now who can give us the right sort of gen, and through our platform, I suppose we can relay that info as accurately as you possibly can to the guys that are listening out on us and who are interested in going. I mean, if we can get some facts and sort of try and paint a better picture of what it takes to get across there, what needs to be done, what to expect, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it'll be pretty good. I think that'll be some worthwhile information and gen to give across the guys.
Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll try and pick up as much info as possible and then relay it across to everyone, and expect that in the next coming weeks. But yeah, Qantas Link roadshow around end of June. You can start getting ready for that. And if you want more gen up front, just contact us, shoot us a message, and I'll pass on the gen. I don't want to give too much away just yet. I must get permission from Barry first as well before we start handing out his email. But we do have the right people, the right contacts. So if you want to find out more, give us a shout and we'll pass on to the right people.
100%.
Opportunity wise, if you were 10 years younger, no kiddies running around just yet, would this be something you would be looking at?
10 years younger with no kiddies, to be honest, I would probably go the Emirates route if I could. Do my best to get into Emirates, just so that I could get around the world a bit, make some bucks. But I think the Aussie route for guys that have got families is probably the better option.
So you're saying maybe some of the older oaks are...
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, I found that as well. There are some guys in Hong Kong in very, very good positions at the major carrier there.
Yeah.
Flying very, very nice machines that are going to be making that move to Oz to go and fly for the likes of a Qantas Link, and all lifestyle based.
Yes.
It's like this is the move to make right now. There's a saying in Formula One, I think, I don't know who, Martin Brundle, I think, whenever it starts raining during a race and there's always should you come in and change to wet tires or intermediates or stay on slicks or whatever, the saying is you need to be on the right tires at the right time. So you can't always predict too far ahead. It's going to stop raining, so to keep the slicks on and all the rest. And I find this is a little bit like it. There's an opportunity there at the moment. The opportunity exists today. And if you want to make the move, you almost are doing yourself a disservice if you look too far ahead and try and predict, right, well, is it going to open up there? What's going to happen in the likes of Saudi? Should I wait for Riyadh to? Yeah, you can't do that. A good opportunity in Australia at the moment. It's a good lifestyle opportunity. And if you're going to make the move, now's the time.
Yeah. What's that sort of saying as well? Don't overanalyze to paralyze, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we're not talking about, whether you're going to buy a Coke or a Fanta here. This is a major lifestyle decision. But like you said there, it's while the opportunity exists, if that's your plan and your desire, now's a good time to grab it.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be sad. Well, it's already affecting us. So many of our good mates making their way across the shores, but it's just inevitable.
Yeah, look, don't blame him. I mean, and to be honest, the guys and girls that we know that have gone across to Oz so far, everyone seems to be very, very happy.
They do.
No complaints so far. So, sounds like it's a good
option.
Yeah, and a good move.
The shit show of South Africa at the moment in terms of the usual suspects of the load shedding and everything is definitely having an effect on people looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's been going on long enough, and it does wear you down from time to time. And you sort of look at it and say, within the next 10 years, where do you want to be? Have a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, whatever. And it's quite hard there's a lot of variables here in South Africa at the moment, and no doubt that they're playing into the decision for, people to possibly make the move.
Again, back to my comment as to why Australia is a better move, particularly for people with families, is, the guys with families are not necessarily thinking about themselves. They're thinking about the futures of their children, etc., and what lies here. So I think that plays a lot on everyone's minds, and that's a big factor in influencing sort of catalyst in the decision making. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll be in touch. We'll talk about it a lot more. If you want more info, just give us a shout. Some more international news. Protesters chained themselves to private jets. They cause an airport closure. So this is just ludicrous. Protesters from various environmental groups, including Greenpeace, Stay Grounded and Extinction Rebellion. They disrupted the European Business Aviation Convention and Exhibition at Geneva Airport, March 23rd. Yeah. Activists used chains and handcuffs to attach themselves to private jets on display, causing a temporary closure of the airport.
Sticking health warning labels on the jets, branding them as toxic objects and claiming that private jets burn our future.
Toxic masculinity.
But listen to this, one Mira cup finger from Stay Grounded. I mean, with a surname like that, you sound toxic. But anyway, come on.
They are, yeah.
What a joke. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Speaking of Geneva, so our Canadian correspondent,
Al Macaulay
is now our Swiss correspondent.
Yeah, living in Geneva.
Yeah. Come on, I had to go find the story myself,
Al's been a little bit quiet last couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure he's trying to get himself settled there.
Yeah. I wonder how he's doing. I'm sure he's doing well. Yeah, big shout out to Al and Kim. So yeah, got a new correspondent there, which is good. But yeah, it's just an absolutely silly story, and follows on to the next one. France bans short haul flights to tackle climate change. What the hell is going on? I mean, aviation almost didn't survive, full stop, and now we've got a situation where, and this one is not.
I remember chatting to one of our colleagues when we went across to Paris last year in October, and she was telling us about this. I still thought, no, man, it can't be. It sounds too ridiculous to be true. But yeah, there's a genuine effort to convince people to rather use like trains and everything.
Yeah, but this has gone
transport for short trips.
It was supposed to be initially proposed 4 hours to 2.5 hour flights. So the law stipulates that train routes must be frequent enough to cater to the needs of passengers who would otherwise have chosen to fly. So any flight that's within 2.5 hours
You know what?
and there's a train option.
It's the equivalent of flying from here to Lubumbashi.
No, it's crazy. I mean, the ban will affect several popular routes, including Paris to Nantes, Lyon, Bordeaux. However, connecting flights are exempt from this rule. And you wonder now, obviously, Europe being European Union, all the rest, that will probably
Aren't all flights
filter down.
connecting?
Yeah, well, maybe that's the loophole.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the loophole.
I wish
Maybe
you-
they get away with it by, no, this is a... Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, actually.
I think all flights are connecting. And I mean, this is just some other woke band of nerds doing this shit. I mean, at the end of the day, the airlines are doing their bit to gear themselves towards carbon-free emissions. Yeah, I mean, how many airlines are
No, Ryan, the reality is aviation almost didn't exist a couple of years ago because...
yeah,
And then you had to fly the vaccines around the world, and then who was going to fly them?
Exactly.
And then now you got a situation. Look, I understand the whole thing, and particularly with the way the world is, but there is a bit of light here. You know, the one thing, and this is very controversial.
not like us not to talk about it.
No, but you know, there's the whole sport thing with the transgender athletes competing in the female sports, which is the most ridiculous thing ever.
Don't even get me started on that subject. 'Cause,
Well,
man, you want to see me get revved up. You think,
Well,
you think
if you're
talking about
asking-
SAA is one thing. That shit
Yeah, but
doesn't fly with me.
No, me neither. But it's all kind of connected because it's all like
Bullshit.
Yeah, I understand the whole environmental side, but it is kind of linked to this sort of leftist ideology, and you know this whole female, this transgender competing in the female side is just ridiculous. That moron swimmer who was like number 5,000 in the men decides to become a female overnight, goes and competes, wins a race.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he tied with a girl.
Yeah.
She got to keep the award because needed to take a picture. She needed to take pictures with his award. Anyway, I don't want to fucking get into it, but the reality is they've stopped this. They've stopped this bullshit now. It's not happening anymore. So there's proper things in place now to actually say, come on, this has got a bit ridiculous. Now you would hope this whole climate stuff with aviation, because you always read stuff with the airlines, particularly with the manufacturers. They're trying to reach their carbon neutral targets by a certain date, and you wonder how big are the margins that they can actually even get close to reaching those targets. I mean,
yeah, look,
they're not playing with a lot of fat there just to, and it's
there's a lot of pressure, but there is an effort. There's a concerted effort towards, sustainable aviation fuel, etc., etc. So something is being done about it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Look,
like trying to throttle aviation now, no, get off it, man.
This episode might get chucked. I think.
Yeah, no, look, we're getting a bit heated, yeah.
All right, let's carry on. American Airlines pilot pay. American Airlines and the Allied Pilots Association, they represent over 15,000 pilots, have reached an agreement that proposes an approximate 21% pay rise for the year. In addition to retroactive raises dating back to 2020, which further increases in the coming years. So this is all to align itself with that whole Delta thing, which is good. We expected that anyway. Airlines like American need to increase their fares to stay profitable. So, of course, it falls on the consumer. Tickets are going to become more expensive. Bottom line. Pilots are worth more. Got to pay more. Tickets become more expensive.
Exactly. Especially now.
Are the likes of like Emirates, are they noticeably charging more these days than a few years ago? I mean, it's quite clear that if you want to fly on a Link flight or a Safair flight from Joey's to Cape Town, you're going to pay more for a ticket than you did a few years ago.
That's for sure.
Emirates, is it noticeably more? I suppose it is, eh?
I don't know. I can't make an educated comment on that. I haven't.
It
really
is in
gone...
Australia that the prices have gone up in Oz. But I wonder how much, what the percentage has gone up around the rest of the world. States has definitely gone up. And I suppose maybe it's just a universal thing. And one of those factors that's affecting the cost is the the salaries that have gone up, particularly of the crew, pilots and cabin crew. It's a major part of an airline's bill.
Yeah.
But no doubt they're going to continue to go up in the coming years.
Yeah, it's crew salaries and obviously fuel. I mean, obviously the Russia-Ukraine war is being blamed a lot for the prices of oil, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, those two components are definitely driving up the ticket prices. But
yeah,
like you said, pilots are worth paying for.
The new contract also plans to improve profit sharing to match Delta's up to 10%, up to 2.5 billion pre-tax profit and 20% for anything above. So, not too shabby. Not a bad little contract gig if you're in the States.
Yeah.
Latam, they got themselves in trouble. The U.S. Department of Transport Office of Aviation Consumer Protection has fined Latam Airlines Group for $1 million for delaying refunds to customers for flights cancelled during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So basically just holding on to the cash, and now the time has come up.
But
to pay.
I can probably understand. Latam, they're in the news quite a bit lately, and they've probably had to hold back a bit of money because they've got to pay the guys from Cockpit Casual all the bucks to fly the Aries back around.
True.
I don't know if you've been paying any attention to some of their more recent episodes, but I certainly have. I enjoy that Cockpit Casual. And
well, what's been happening?
No, they've been ferrying airplanes around the world like it's nobody's business. And funny enough, a lot of them are the Latam Aries, taking them back from Singapore, back to Brazil, etc. Because obviously Latam are gearing up and ramping up their ops again, and they're actually coming back to Joburg soon. Just trying to find that article. Where is it? Yeah.
Cockpit Casual, if anyone's looking to watch, I'll actually leave the link in the show notes. It's such a cool little series to watch.
It's actually very cool.
It really makes you want to go and do that type of flying.
Yeah. No, those guys are hardcore.
They're basically, they're ferrying aircraft around, but they got a hell of a network, and they fly different machinery on different days, end up in all sorts of parts of the world.
Literally around the world.
They enjoy playing a bit of golf, so they try and find themselves a good course every now and again between a turnaround, and it's actually pretty cool to watch.
Yeah.
Cockpit Casual.
Yeah. So anyway, you mentioned Latam. It just reminded me of those guys.
Yeah. Next one, Scoot selects the E2. Shout out to Saffers at Scoot, actually. Haven't spoken about them for a long time. They were flying only 787s, eh? So this whole resizing there of getting the right aircraft for the right route. So they've chosen the E190 E2. Of course, touted as the quietest and most fuel-efficient aircraft that's under 150 seats, aligning with Scoot's strategy of maintaining a modern, fuel-efficient fleet and serving non-metro destinations out of Singapore. Is Singapore still an option for expats?
Don't know so much. They were
opportunity-wise. They were. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it just yet, but no doubt it probably will open up again very soon.
I suppose the resizing is going on there at the moment.
Yeah,
they're not up to full speed there just yet. Simaero Ryan expanding business network in India. So great news for the team at Simaero, and obviously addressing the need for well-trained pilots in India with expertise in pilot training and simulator engineering services.
Very exciting. I mean, we've been saying for many
months
for a long time on the show. We've spoken about India and the expanding aviation market there, and it's nice to see Simaero getting in there and being a part of that expansion.
Getting in there while it's hot.
Exactly. What's that? Putting the right tires on at the right time. Right?
That's it. African Aviation, South African Airways holding on to Heathrow slots. SAA plans to keep its valuable slots at London Heathrow for at least the next 3 years as it aims to restart long-haul international flights. Obviously under financial distress, everyone knows about that. And yeah, I suppose they're going to be putting a 330 or something on there at some point. Despite healthy travel demand, SAA struggled to regain a significant market share with foreign airlines still controlling 80% of the international flights to and from South Africa. What are the other 20% just
That it must just be
Airlink?
Airlink and Safair.
Because I don't think they
Hmm?
hardly doing anything. SAA's got 14 weekly slots at Heathrow, previously leased to Qatar, but the lease agreement ended in March. Airline currently lacks the long-haul capacity to launch its network due to the return of 4 leased A350-900 aircraft in early 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. At the end, version 1 we had stopped going to Heathrow for a long time. We weren't flying. Were we?
No, we were.
Were we?
Yeah, we were definitely there. We're still going to Heathrow, Frankfurt,
Well,
and Munich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Staying with Spoories, the minority shareholders that plan to buy SAA are going to fight the Competition Commission ruling. So, interview with Business Maverick on Wednesday. Gidon Novick, who represents the minority shareholders and is the founder of Lyft, said the minority shareholders will make submissions to the Competition Tribunal with a view to challenging the Competition Commission's recommendations. He found that it's curious that there were recommendations to boot Global and Ceramics out of the SAA deal when both companies were initially approached by the Department of Public Enterprises early in 2021, when Lyft was already operating. So they approached them back then. Lyft already existed. It wasn't though it popped up later.
Yeah.
So what's changed? Nothing.
Nah, the saga continues. This is going to be kicked down the road for a long time still.
We'll comment on it a bit, Ryan. You love these stories.
Nah, I got nothing to say.
All right, next one. AviaDev 223. We're not going to be there, unfortunately. But a lot of people will be. 35 airlines of all shapes and sizes now registered for AviaDev 223. That's going to be in Nairobi in just over 3 weeks' time. Pity we're not going. We're just too busy.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too chaotic at the moment for us to take our hands off the wheel here. But no doubt, John and his team are putting together a massive expose there, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be quite successful for everyone that's attending.
John puts on a show, let me tell you.
Yeah, you managed to get to the AviaDev last year in Cape Town.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. But John's just wired and built for the whole networking thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of pre-arranged meetings, and it's brilliant because you kind of, when you have a meeting, you got a meeting scheduled, say in the middle of the day, you never kind of know, is it going to lead into lunch? And then, are you going to actually get done what you need to get done? And maybe there's too much small. This is like you've got a certain amount of time, and you agree that you're going to cover, this and this subject, and you sit down, get it done. And then you can say, right, I'm off to the next meeting now. And it's kind of like this sort of vibe where all that sort of small talk is non-existent. And it actually works really, really well. I saw it for the first time.
Yeah.
But a very clever way of actually networking and communicating.
The tourism in Durban and Durban used to be a bit like that for the marketing people. It was like that during the day, structured meetings. Everybody's very serious. And then the minute the sun goes down, it just turns out into a raucous party.
Yeah. 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 I remember those in Darbers.
AviaDev like that as well.
Yeah, it does. Particularly if the oaks from Seme are there, which they will be. Shanil and his team there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let the people get their head down a bit. Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's important,
Miles is buying dops.
Yeah. Well, that's what counts. I mean, I suppose that's where a lot of the real business actually gets done.
Yeah. Huh? And the real networking gets done. But it is cool. It's a very nice event. And it's the premier event. It's a premier aviation event.
Awesome.
So contact John if you need a bit more gen on that one.
I highly doubt there'll still be tickets available to that because
there's 30 places left, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 30 places, which is not much. So they might be gone by the time the show goes out. But contact John on John Howell on LinkedIn, probably the best place. Go check it out. Last week's show was a cool one for us because we got to have give our old mate Mike a bit of a punt. He's going to Oz and wanted to give him a bit of a send-off. He's done really well by us, Mike, and we wanted to do well by him. And, in true Mark fashion, spoke to him afterwards, very grateful, but, he wanted it to be clear that, thanks, guys, but. And he said, do you mind if I just shoot a little message out to the listeners and that? And I said, of course, I'm sure they would like to hear. But it was a really nice, I felt really good actually talking about that. And one of the best things about the podcast, Ryan, is when you speak about something, it kind of makes more sense in your own mind. And one of the things we'll talk about after we've, Mark's done his thing here, it is the ability to talk to someone about it. But anyway, here's Mike.
Good day, Bryan Air podcast. Mike Mason here. Bryan and Ryan, just a little note to show my appreciation for the shout out on last week's episode and the dedication of last week's episode to my family and I. Really, really do appreciate it. I'm humbled by what you said and extremely grateful for all the kind words that were in last week's podcast. I do, however, want to point out a couple of things that I think is very, very important. And number one is that I didn't do this alone. It might look like it was me on my own, but definitely not. I had an army of support behind me from family, close family, my mom, my sister, my cousin, to friends, close friends, long lost friends, colleagues. I even had a colleague from a very, very long time back who assisted me financially in a very, very big way. I don't know what I would have done without him. He's always wanted to remain anonymous, and without contributions like that, this wouldn't be possible. And I think this is very, very important to point out to all of your listeners and viewers that we can't do this alone. It's just too big a task. We need to be able to ask for help. And therein, I suppose, is my biggest weakness, is because I've always been the one that was the person to extend a helping hand. It was very, very, very difficult for me in the last 3 years to ask for help. But I've learned to ask for help. And it becomes so much easier when you have supports and you have people, on your side, rooting for you, helping you. It shouldn't change the way you feel about yourself. It shouldn't affect your strength of character. We all need a little helping hand now and then, and I urge anybody who's sitting in a similar situation to what a lot of people faced through the last couple of years for various reasons, be it job loss, divorce, loss of a family member or somebody close to you, whatever the case may be, is ask for help. They say that once you've put a thought into words, it's no longer a thought. And once you've asked for help, you are going to get support from someone. So that's the first thing that I urge everyone to do. The second thing that I urge and that I've learned through the last 3 years is to never, ever give up hope. It is so important not to give up on yourself. There are a lot of people, whether you know it or not, whether they make it known or not, that are shouting for you and that are supporting you and that are looking to you for motivation and looking towards your success to help them on their journey. So hope is important. Don't give up hope. And then lastly, don't give up on yourself. Keep fighting. Find something to do. Take the time for yourself. Find something that will challenge you. Whatever new task it is, to become more physically active, to get into shape, to trying some sort of a new skill, just take the time and invest in yourself. That is important. Without healthy body, healthy mind, you're not going to be able to overcome adversity. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. And really, I'd just like to say thank you very, very much to everyone that has helped me and supported me. There's still a little bit to go. There's still a long road yet. I've still got to convert my license, get through some simulator training before things settle down. So there are still a few tasks ahead for me. And yeah, the final thank you would be to you, Bryan and Ryan, because if it wasn't for your podcast, for your dedication to putting out a weekly podcast, for researching the aviation news, as well as what you do for discussing all these topics, I probably would have lost my interest in aviation. And it's thanks to you guys that, I kept that interest and that connection to it. And I think things would have been very, very different today if it wasn't for your podcast. So thank you so much for that, for the time, for the dedication, for the effort that you guys have put in. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful to you guys for what you've done. Keep it up. Even when I'm in the land down under, and I know it's not Ryan's favorite place, I will definitely stay in contact. And the one way will be to listen to your podcast once a week. So yeah, keep it up, keep going, keep forging ahead. And thank you for everything that you do for aviation. We'll chat to you soon.
So that was cool.
That was a really cool message
Thanks,
from Mark. Yeah, I mean, it was, thanks, Mark, for the kind words there. And yeah, he has promised to be our correspondent in Australia. So whenever there's some more Australian news, we'll just dial up Mike.
Yeah. Aussie Mike.
That was very cool.
But Ryan, one of the things he said there, and it's true, because you actually put out a post about this years ago, going back a very, very difficult stage we were all going through. But I think the article that you wrote was about don't go at it alone or something like that. And that's kind of what Mark is saying here. You know, you need that support. You need the people around you. And definitely been one of the successes to the podcast for us is that we had each other to actually do the show with, and how much more difficult it would have been had I just tried to go do this myself. And I rate myself as a relatively tough guy that's committed, that will put in the hard yards. But let's face it, there are times and there are days where it is too hard to do it by yourself. It's just too difficult, and you're gonna end up quitting.
Yeah.
And just having that person or people or that support structure, that's not just, are you lucky if you have that? That's a necessary ingredient for success.
It's so important. I mean, you know, from a support perspective, to have that network around you with people who can prop you up and back you up and are there to help you when you really need it, or if you ask for it, is undoubtedly the most important thing that you can have. I mean, and added to that, the right people, you know, the right people with the right mindset, who are going to be there and positively influence you. I think is quite something. I mean, look, I remember writing that LinkedIn article in the beginning, and I still maintain it's, you know, don't go at it alone. I mean, teamwork is just imperative. And I think, you know, we've been like that from the get-go since the day I met you at SACS, you know, getting through sim, etc. We've always been
got the job done.
Yeah. And
we might get the job done, not always the most graceful.
No, it ain't always pretty.
But if you want it done, yeah.
No, and I mean, that, you know, I suppose it's maybe not a bad time for us to just say thanks to everyone who has propped us up and supported us, and our families and our friends that have been there for us when we've needed the help as well. Yeah,
absolutely. The key point that you make there as well, the being around the right people. Obviously, that's kind of key. You don't want to be the one picking everyone else up all the time. It's got to work both ways.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson's got that quote, you know, do someone a favor so that they can do a favor for you at some point as well.
Yeah.
You know, it must work both ways, and it must be evident that it works both ways. If it doesn't, then, you know, it's not going to work for you.
Exactly.
So there's lots of little there's lots of little ingredients to success that maybe sometimes we neglect them because they're not the ones you talk about all the time, like working hard and being dedicated. And sometimes it's something simple like that.
Yeah, it's not always the most obvious sort of recipe that's you're paying attention to, I guess. But yeah, surrounding yourself with the right people and just maintaining that positive attitude and mindset. It reminded me last week, we still commented after the show, that show we had kind of felt like it was for us in the early days.
Yeah.
A little bit easier, but it's what kind of got us started.
Yes.
Guys, stay positive, keep strong. And those initial messages of,
but it leads me to
affirmation is what got us started. Yeah,
it leads me to what I wanted to say before we put Mark's message there. One of the benefits I found with the podcast is when you speak about these things, it also kind of makes a bit more sense to yourself. Yeah. So when you're talking about, being motivated and having the discipline and all the rest, it reaffirms it in your own mind. And that's so important. Someone once said to me, do a podcast by yourself sometimes, just driving home, have a bit of a chat. Yeah. And sometimes if you, when you do that, you start to realize, but hang on, my mindset's not correct at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not in a good phase. A lovely bit of advice. I think it was on a Chris Williamson Modern Wisdom podcast the other day. I stand corrected. I should have checked this. Let me see if I get this right. If you're going through something difficult and you don't have anyone to sort of, fall on or bounce the idea off, you're just going through one of those, going through a difficult period. If your best mate was going through the exact same thing, what would you say to your best mate? Yeah. So you going through something, Ryan, take yourself out and then say, right,
what would I
say to someone that's going through the exact same thing you going through? And 9 times out of 10, you end up, it's like, it's not that bad. It's like,
basically trying to pull yourself out of your own head kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that's what, if I'm reading between the lines.
No, exactly.
Correctly.
So you're basically saying, right, you're going through this thing. If Brian was going through it, what would I say to him?
Yeah.
Come on, bud, come, let's,
probably be like, hey, but you want to go for a beer?
Yeah. But a useful bit of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You say you must have a support structure. Not everyone does.
No, that's true.
And you speak about going to places like, expats moving to Oz and things like that. One of the huge factors in deciding whether you go or not is a lot of the time you are leaving your support structure behind, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
Your friends and family might still stay in South Africa and you go across. And again, doesn't it make it easier when there's a few people that are going across together? So,
no, that's what like Dylan and them did now. They went over as a group of friends, and I'm 100% certain that makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Oh man.
But I think, in terms of that sort of thing, what I really liked about their attitudes when they were leaving was, it's sad, you're leaving family and friends, whatever, but the whole time it came up, well, I'm just going to see this as an adventure. And that was obviously like, their own sort of personal affirmation of, well, this is how I'm going to try and make the best of it.
I love that attitude of seeing things as an adventure or an experience.
We often forget to remind ourselves, that that's what we should be doing.
Yeah. Going one step back, I do quite a bit of help with the guys that are going for some prep rides with airlines and that, AirLINE, particularly at the moment, hiring a lot of pilots, and a lot of guys come and they want to see if they can fly the ERJ, nicely for that sim check ride. And one of the things what I always say to the guys, and you can see like the level of anxiety drop. I always say, listen, but you've got to see this as an experience either way.
Yeah.
You can rub the instructor up the wrong way. It doesn't mean you're a bad pilot. It just means it wasn't your day. So go in there and see it as an experience. And then, whatever happens will happen. There are lots of opportunities out there. Go and use that experience somewhere else. Yeah. You can see like those anxiety levels drop a little bit. Yeah. So very good point. Yeah.
Just turn it into an adventure.
Make it an adventure.
Yeah. Live a little, man.
I was watching an old Top Gear episode the other day. James May said, driving this car is like an event. To make turn as many things as you can into an event. Something you'll remember.
Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah. Speaking of Clarkson, have you watched the latest version of Clarkson's Farm?
I was late to the party on that one. I'm only halfway through season 1, but I dig it. Yeah.
Oh no, it's brilliant. I'll tell you what. I think we were talking about it a bit the other day, and still mentioned, he's got that little farm shop called Diddley Squat.
Yeah.
So didn't we have an idea that we were gonna create an excerpt about the podcast, and
Yeah. What are we gonna call it?
I don't know. Something about.
So Clarkson's got his farm. We're gonna have our studio soon. We're gonna do.
That was it.
We're gonna do it about the studio.
Yeah. The creating of
Jack Squat studio.
The Jack Shit studio.
Jack Shit. Yeah. So Ryan, this week in aviation, you get these sort of weeks of stories that really interest us. Sometimes not a huge amount of news. This week, not a huge amount of aviation news. The bottom line is things are moving forward so rapidly. You get to pick and choose the news stories as you wish. Big thing for me, opportunities in Oz, and SAFers, expats from all around the world are going to be flocking there and leaving voids in
South Africa.
And those are going to be filled. They're going to initially, I suppose, be filled by youngsters there at flight school coming in and filling those slots at airlines like Airlink and SAF, probably a hell of a lot sooner in their careers than they had initially anticipated. What a time to be in aviation. What a time to be seeing this as a real opportunity industry at the moment. But we'll keep a close eye on it, of course, and be reporting every week as to what we see happening and what we predict.
Yeah, that's for sure, man.
Thanks for supporting us.
Yeah, appreciate it. And from my side, apologies for sounding a little bit nasally today. I think I'm wrestling a micro version of the Rona here. But
where's your mask, bro?
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Take it easy.
Bye for now.
Ciao.